After years of quietly supporting my family, I offered my father a retirement gift. Instead of gratitude, he threw it back, accusing me of trying to show off. My name is Natalie, and at 32 years old, I built a $20 million business from the ground up without a college degree. For years, I silently covered my family's expenses while they doubted my career choices. But last month, at my father's birthday dinner, everything shifted. He called me educated trash and demanded I leave his home. What he didn't know was how much I had achieved. 3 weeks later, the look on his face made every sacrifice worth it. Before I share how I went from secretly supporting my family to being called garbage by my own father, drop a comment with where you're watching from. If you've ever felt underestimated by the very people who should have supported you, hit the like button and subscribe. I grew up in a middle-class neighborhood in Columbus, Ohio, where expectations were simple and clear. My father, Richard, had worked as an accountant at the same firm for 30 years and believed education was the only true path to success. My mother, Helen, was an elementary school teacher and quietly stood by his views. From early on, I knew I was different from my siblings, David and Claire, who both followed traditional paths. At just 10 years old, I showed signs of a business mindset that puzzled my parents. While other kids played after school, I ran a full lemonade stand with multiple flavors and loyalty punch cards. By 13, I was repairing computers for neighbors, charging $20 an hour compared to the $75 repair shops asked for. To my parents, these were just cute hobbies. Natalie needs to focus on her studies, my father would say at dinner. These games won't pay the bills later. High school was tough. I kept good grades, but spent free time reading business books and following entrepreneurs online. While my siblings joined clubs for college applications, I launched a small online shop selling customized phone cases, earning nearly $2,000 before graduation. To satisfy my parents, I enrolled in community college, but one semester confirmed what I already knew. The structured environment felt like a cage, and business classes were taught by professors who had never run a company. When I told my parents I wanted to leave and pursue business full-time, the argument lasted for days. "You're throwing your life away," my father shouted. "No child of mine will drop out and work minimum wage jobs." At 19, I dropped out anyway, with only $2,000 saved from side hustles. The first months were brutal. I rented a tiny studio in a rough neighborhood where it wasn't safe to do laundry after dark. I lived on ramen and cheap groceries while working 18-hour days on my e-commerce site. My first 3 ventures failed. I lost money on dropshipping due to poor quality products. My social media service collapsed because I undercharged and burned out. My handmade jewelry business stalled at weekend markets. Each failure, though painful, taught lessons no college class could. Supply chain management, contract negotiation, and scaling production. The turning point came at a local networking event where I met Catherine, an experienced entrepreneur, 20 years older. She saw potential in me when my family never did. She became my mentor, giving practical advice without caring that I lacked a degree. Education takes many forms, she told me. Some of the most successful people learned by doing, not sitting in classrooms. With her guidance, I refined my ideas and launched a new e-commerce platform at 22, connecting small U.S. producers with buyers who wanted locally made products. The timing was perfect, as people were eager to support small businesses. Those early days were exhausting. Half of my apartment became my office, and I slept on a pull-out sofa beside my desk. I worked from 5 a.m. until nearly midnight, handling coding, customer service, and shipping. The breakthrough came 8 months later when a lifestyle blogger featured one of our artisans. Orders exploded. I worked 72 hours straight, updating systems and fulfilling shipments. That feature brought in $10,000, more money than I'd ever seen in my account. Excited, I called my parents. My father's response? "That's nice, honey, but probably temporary. You can always go back to college when it ends." His doubt hurt, but it fueled my resolve to prove him wrong, with results, not words. The next 5 years were filled with challenges and growth. My site, Coastal Crafted, expanded quickly. We started with 27 artisans in 3 states. By year 3, we had 400 artisans across all 50 states. Each milestone came with new problems. When our servers crashed during a major sale, I stayed awake for 48 hours with developers to fix it while personally answering customer emails. When competitors tried poaching sellers, I met with each one face-to-face to strengthen loyalty. In year 2, cash flow nearly sank us. We were scaling faster than our capital. I went without pay for 4 months, moved to a smaller place, and negotiated extended supplier terms. That period taught me financial discipline that kept the company alive. Major achievements followed. Our first office was in a renovated warehouse downtown, staffed with 3 employees for customer service and seller support. By year 3, we hit $1 million in revenue. I celebrated alone in my office with a single glass of champagne. Still, I kept my success mostly hidden from my family. They only knew I ran a small website, and I rarely corrected them. Deep down, I hoped they'd ask questions and show genuine interest, but they never did. Despite their distance, I continued helping them quietly. When my mom faced breast cancer, I paid $75,000 in medical bills anonymously. When David was short $40,000 for his house down payment, I wired it through a family friend. When Claire's fiancé lost his job before their wedding, I covered the $50,000 venue and catering costs. They accepted the help, but my career was still dismissed at family gatherings. Meanwhile, my business grew. I now managed strategy meetings, signed retail partnerships, and oversaw 38 employees from our full-floor downtown office. After a feature in Business Insider, our valuation hit $20 million. Investors offered to buy me out, but I refused to give up control. As my father's 60th birthday approached, I decided to finally be honest. Not to boast, but to earn the respect I had been denied. I set up a retirement account as a gift, planning to reveal both it and the truth about my company at his dinner. I rehearsed my words. I was no longer a confused dropout, but a proven entrepreneur creating jobs and opportunities. I thought that would finally make him proud. I was wrong. The night of the dinner began as usual. The same house, the same furniture, the same family portraits. My brother David showed up with his wife Melissa, dressed in business casual. Claire arrived with Ethan, boasting about her promotion at the accounting firm. No one asked about my career. Dinner was pot roast, served on fine china. As dessert came, I finally spoke. I want to share something. Coastal Crafted was recently valued at $20 million. We've had acquisition offers and were featured in Business Insider and Entrepreneur. Silence. My mother froze mid-bite. Claire looked at Ethan. David just stared. My father broke the silence with contempt. What does that even mean? These internet companies make up numbers. I calmly explained valuation, revenue streams, and growth. You, my father demanded, that was all you. Claire looked embarrassed. David's face hardened, and my mother sat in stunned silence. You've been paying for everything behind our backs, playing the big shot with internet money. My voice trembled. I only wanted to help. David cut in. Help? You made us feel like charity cases. Some of us work honest jobs with real degrees. I tried again. This isn't a scheme. We employ dozens of people. We support manufacturers. My father stood. You dropped out against our advice, disappeared into your internet world, and now you throw money around like you're better. You think money makes you successful? You're still just uneducated trash who got lucky. The room fell silent. My mother whispered weakly, Richard. But it was too late. He shouted louder. I worked my whole life the right way. I won't be shown up in my own home by my dropout daughter. I stood, collected my bag, and said quietly, I should go. Yes, you should, he snapped. Get out. Your money doesn't make you family. I looked around the table for support. None came. Happy birthday, Dad, I whispered, walking out. No one stopped me. No one called after me. Driving away, my hands shook so badly I could barely steer. The irony hit me. I owned a multi-million-dollar company, yet I was staying in a hotel in my hometown because I wasn't welcome in my parents' home. In that silent room, I replayed the night over and over. Had I been too forward? Too hopeful? The financial support I had given now felt like a desperate attempt to buy approval that would never come. I opened my laptop and began listing every expense I had covered. $75,000 for Mom's treatment, $120,000 for David's house, $50,000 for Claire's wedding, $22,000 for Dad's car repairs, $35,000 for Mom's kitchen remodel. Christmases, birthdays, emergencies, altogether nearly $300,000, not even counting the retirement account. My father had recently rejected the account. It was money I never expected to get back, offered freely out of love to a family that had just called me worthless. Around midnight, I received a text from Claire. Dad is still upset, but he'll get over it. You know how he reacts when his authority is challenged. There was no apology, no recognition of the hurtful words, just the assumption I would absorb the abuse and return to normal as if nothing had happened. I didn't reply. The next morning, I contacted a family therapist in the city where I lived. Dr. Mitchell agreed to an emergency virtual session that afternoon. Family wounds cut the deepest, she said after I shared what happened at dinner, especially when they target the very things we've worked hardest to overcome. Over the following days, she helped me understand the complicated dynamics. My achievement had threatened the family structure and the values my parents built their lives on. Instead of gratitude, my financial support stirred resentment, highlighting a shift in power they couldn't accept. Your father's identity is tied to being the provider and the authority, she explained. Your success undermines both. I began journaling, not just about that dinner, but also patterns from childhood. Subtle ways my drive had been discouraged, times when academic awards were celebrated while business successes were minimized, and constant reminders that without a degree, I'd never truly succeed. Those reflections showed how deeply I had internalized their messages. Even with outward success, a part of me still felt like the family disappointment, the dropout trying to prove something. That explained my hesitation to openly share my accomplishments or acknowledge my financial help. A week after the disastrous dinner, my sister called. I let it go to voicemail. A week after the disastrous dinner, my sister called. I let it go to voicemail. Natalie, please call back. Dad feels terrible about what happened. We all do. But you must see how it looked, walking in and flaunting your wealth. It was inconsiderate to those of us who worked hard for our careers. I deleted the message without replying. Somehow, I had become the villain simply for sharing facts about my business after years of hiding it. Soon after, my brother texted, "Family is family. Let's move past this." Again, no apology, just the assumption I would return to the role assigned to me. 2 weeks later, I made a decision that was both frightening and liberating. I would choose self-respect over destructive family ties. I moved into the beach house I had bought as an investment property in Naples, Florida, the year before. Before leaving, I sent a letter to my parents. It wasn't angry, but an honest statement of pain and disappointment. "I'm sorry, I can't assist with that request. No achievement will ever change that. I cannot continue in a relationship where my worth depends on credentials rather than character and achievement. I'll always love you both, but I must step back for my own well-being. I hope someday we can rebuild our relationship on mutual respect. Love, Natalie." I mailed the letter myself. No reply came in the days that followed. I had my assistant pack and ship my belongings from Ohio to Florida, donating most of the furniture and clothes to charity. I wanted to start over with as little baggage as possible. My company could be managed remotely, with only occasional visits for key meetings. The leadership team I had built was more than capable of handling daily operations. As I boarded the plane to Florida, I felt a strange mix of loss and relief. The family whose approval I had chased was behind me, along with the pressure of trying to earn it. Naples welcomed me with warm sunshine and ocean air, a sharp contrast to the gray winter I had left. The beach house, a modern 2-story with floor-to-ceiling windows facing the Gulf, stood on a quiet stretch of shore. I had only visited twice before, for short stays. At first, the property felt more like a luxury rental than a home. The real estate agency had furnished it tastefully, but it lacked personality. Making it my own became part of my healing. In the bedroom, I replaced bland linens with handmade quilts from North Carolina. Mass-produced art came down, replaced with original works by emerging American artists I discovered through my business. Waking up each morning to the sound of waves and surrounded by authentic creativity felt grounding. I moved next to the kitchen, swapping sterile decor for handcrafted ceramics from Vermont and New Mexico. Industrial appliances stayed, but colorful hand-woven linens and wooden serving boards brought warmth. Establishing routines became vital to recovery. Every morning began with a walk on the beach, collecting shells and watching dolphins play offshore. I found a small coffee shop run by a Cuban-American family and quickly became a regular, greeted by name instead of order. Running the business remotely turned out easier than expected. Video calls replaced in-person meetings, and systems already in place functioned seamlessly. Without the commute or constant interruptions, I was more productive and made sharper decisions. After a month, my executive team visited for 3 days of planning on my oceanfront deck. Several remarked on the change they saw in me. "You seem more centered," my operations director said. He was right. Without the weight of my father's criticism, I trusted my judgment more freely. Community involvement became another cornerstone of my new life. I joined the local Chamber of Commerce and a women's business network. Unlike back home, here I was open about my success. Respect came naturally, free from the baggage of old perceptions. I befriended Samantha, a gallery owner, who introduced me to her circle of accomplished women. Our weekly dinners were filled with laughter and support, without questions about degrees or suggestions that I'd been lucky. 3 weeks after moving, my brother David showed up unexpectedly. "Nice place," he said, taking in the ocean view. He admitted he wanted advice and possibly a loan for an investment. The pattern was clear. "I'm not lending to family anymore," I told him firmly. "That chapter is closed." His smile faded. "So this is how it is? You move here and forget where you came from? Dad was right about you. Dad called me trash and kicked me out. Are you here to repeat that?" I asked. David backpedaled, saying I misunderstood. But I ended the conversation. Setting boundaries felt right, even if hard. That evening, I called my lawyer to set up a scholarship fund at the community college I once attended. The Natalie Brooks Entrepreneurship Scholarship would cover tuition and mentorship for 5 students each year who showed entrepreneurial drive but lacked traditional advantages. "Focus on initiative and creativity, not grades," I instructed. As weeks passed, the beach house became home. I planted a garden of native plants that attracted butterflies and hummingbirds. I adopted Milo, a rescue dog, who reminded me daily how relationships should feel: loyal, kind, uncomplicated. I took pottery classes, tried paddleboard yoga with more falling than balancing, and allowed myself to laugh through it. Slowly, the pain of rejection dulled. What remained was a growing sense of peace and belonging. Then, unexpectedly, my story reached a wider audience. The Naples Business Journal published a feature on me and my company. Soon, larger outlets picked it up, and social media buzzed. Messages poured in from old classmates, teachers, and even local entrepreneurs from my hometown, thanking me for proving success without a degree was possible. The hometown paper even ran a headline: "Local entrepreneur makes national impact." That ripple effect reached my family. First, a cousin sent a friend request. Then, my mother texted, "Saw the article. Very impressive. Dad and I are proud." My father left a voicemail, cheerful. "There must have been a misunderstanding last time. Call me back." Days later, my mother wrote they were considering visiting Florida. The request unsettled. After weeks of healing, they wanted to appear as if nothing had happened. I scheduled an emergency session with Dr. Mitchell. She reminded me I had choices: decline, set firm boundaries, or use the meeting as a chance for honest conversation. I decided to allow the visit, but only if we addressed what happened. When they arrived, I met them at a seaside restaurant. They looked smaller, more fragile than I remembered, overdressed for the beach. Conversation was strained until I quietly reminded my father, "You called me trash and told me to leave your house." He flushed, saying he'd overreacted. My mother added that my success had seemed like showing off. I explained calmly, I hid my achievements for years to avoid making anyone. Later, I invited them to see my home, but only after stating clearly, I won't pretend that dinner never happened. If we move forward, it has to be with respect. They agreed stiffly. Touring at a beach house, I realized something vital. Their approval no longer defined me. On the terrace, as the sun set, my father finally apologized, though with qualifiers. My mother admitted they had worried about my future without a degree. I responded, "My future is here." I built this with hard work and resilience. That deserves respect. We talked for hours. No dramatic reconciliation followed, just a fragile beginning with boundaries in place. In time, weekly calls with my parents grew less tense. My sister Claire eventually offered a real apology, and we rebuilt our bond on adult terms. David remained distant. Through therapy, I came to understand how deeply family trauma shaped my drive for validation. Dr. Mitchell reminded me, success cannot replace self-worth, and family approval cannot be bull. I focused on building healthier patterns. My foundation expanded to include mentorship, connecting self-made entrepreneurs with students. My chosen family in Naples, friends who respected and supported me, became a source of joy. My home transformed fully into a reflection of my values. Milo gained a companion, Daisy, an older rescue dog no one else wanted. Running my company remotely thrived so well that I introduced flexible work for employees, boosting morale and productivity. 1 year later, I hosted a dinner party at my beach house for my new circle. As we watched dolphins leap against the sunset, Samantha raised a glass to having the courage to choose respect over obligation. That toast captured the heart of my journey. Family matters, but never at the cost of dignity. Success isn't measured solely by degrees or traditional paths, but by the impact we create. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or tolerating harm. It means releasing resentment while maintaining healthy boundaries. My story is still unfolding. My relationship with my parents shifts, sometimes improving, sometimes sliding back. But I now stand firm, unwilling to compromise my worth for acceptance. If there's one truth my journey proves, it's this: your value is not determined by others' outdated expectations. Success comes in many forms, and rejection can often be the doorway to building a truer, more fulfilling life. Have you ever had to choose between family expectations and your own path? Have you faced criticism for your way of succeeding? Share your story in the comments. If this resonated, like and subscribe, and share it with others navigating similar struggles. Thank you for listening. Take care.